This is probably the first in a series of videos. Go on forever, maybe. I don't know. Depends on how long the phantasmagoricals last. Yeah, I'll do my responses in this way, and then I won't have to get as personal. Of course, it's going to be personal sometimes, just because there's accusations built into the videos I'm responding to that are, that deserve a personal response. So in his latest video, Matt, I just mentioned, if you know of their other phantasmagoricals, I probably have a lot of them blocked that are making videos talking this crap. Post a link to the name or whatever. Just post the name of the person. I'll check out the videos. So in Matt's latest video, he makes two comments. First, he says something to Nick, the modern mystic, like, your version of determinism is depressing. All right, now look, as soon as philosophers start talking about whether or not the philosophy is depressing or not, I mean, fuck that. I mean, you have no credibility. I mean, just label what you're talking, Matt. Before every video, just say, this shit I'm going to talk has nothing to do with the truth. It has to do with a desperate struggle to find something better than the truth to cling to, so I can make my life more tolerable. I mean, just put a fair warning label on the crap you're preaching, and be honest and say it has nothing to do with the truth. It just has to do with your desire to find a philosophy that you find more comforting and easier to live with, because really, some of us are here to try to reason life out and sincerely want to know facts. They want to know the truth. They want to, so they want to talk truth. So if what you're trying to talk is, fun and games and happy, and you want to avoid something depressing, even though it's the truth, well, that's a different agenda, and so you should just kind of label your agenda. Alright, and the second point, Matt, it's always this crap about we're not a machine, we're not a biological machine, and because he keeps wanting to believe it's something different than that. And there's a way of looking at this whole reproduction biology thing. I mean, we can theoretically, the means is going to be available soon for us to create essentially a reproducing machine. There's lots of different ways to do it, but we'll be able to build one, a big giant one, on our scale of the biosphere. Now there's this little biological one that's built out of chemistry, that we can barely understand the parts of. I mean, we can get a glimpse of them, but we really can't see the mechanics of it. We can't get that deep because it has to do with physics. I mean, once you start breaking chemistry down, it breaks down into physics. I mean, I've always argued that even the distinctions we've made, calling one science biology and calling one chemistry and calling one physics, was a big, huge mistake in our past, because it's all the same science. You can't have biology without chemistry, and you can't have chemistry without physics. So anyway, we have this thing created by physics, this little biological organism, this reproducing first cell or whatever it was, and we can all understand how it evolved. We can sort of see that. It certainly fits in a logical brain from the evidence we have that everything goes back to that original first reproducing cell. And so we can basically create something further along on this scale of evolution. I mean, we don't have to create a first cell that is as self-sustaining as that first cell. So let's just say we make a reproducing machine. Okay, what it basically would do is, let's say we gave it a standard toolbox. Say 500 CPU chips, 500 of this, 500 of that. Gave it a little warehouse of 500 spare parts, and then it would collect the other parts. It would build the other parts it needs out of whatever environment it lived in. It would drill a hole, pull the minerals out, process them whatever way it needed to, and basically build a copy of itself. I mean, we could have the warehouse have 50% of the parts, or we could even have a warehouse that was 90% of the parts, or 99% of the parts, or even all of the parts. And then we could just set this thing loose and say, here's your agenda. Build another copy of yourself, at least one. And if you find another copy of yourself, kill it and steal its parts. Okay? And then we could just set these things loose into the universe. And you know, they would fight with each other. They would evolve over time. They would change over time in their subtle programming, in their software. There would be mistakes that would be made in the reproducing process. We could certainly just build that into the process, a few random errors here and there. And they would, you know, do what we have done. The natural selection would change what kind of copy they made of themselves over time. And ideally, like I said, you would want to create a machine ultimately that could extract all the parts it needed just from the environment without having to steal them from some other living thing by its definition of alive, just so that would create more, you know, so this thing could spread quickly, more quickly, you know, and they would have more competition, and so the evolution would be much faster. But regardless, you know, the point is, on this scale, the universe would take, you know, not 1 billion years, maybe take 1 trillion years, just because it's going to be a much slower evolution, you know. I mean, it's not going to have a life cycle of 30 days like a fruit fly or something. So, but anyway, we can essentially play the little God game and create a mechanical device that does what we're the product of: reproduction, consumption, and reproduction. And you know, we wouldn't sit there and glorify that when we did it. We wouldn't sit there and say, you know, that's brilliant, that's accomplishing something. You know, because without consciousness, it wouldn't mean much in the first place. And in the second place, we just look at it and say, well, it's just kind of stupid. I mean, it's just a bunch of machines beating the shit out of each other for nothing. I mean, they're not gaining anything from this stupid game they're playing. They're not gonna. What could they ultimately accomplish? Where they could spread themselves throughout the whole fucking universe. They could eat up all the minerals and turn all the minerals into machines. And then what would the machines do? You know, they wouldn't have anything to do. So anyway, I'm not trying to discount what it means for us that we acquired through that biological process. Halfway through the process, or however far through it, you know, we acquired this sentient thing, this capacity to feel, and that really gave all of this a huge amount of meaning. I mean, if that never happened, if it was still just, you know, microbial type sensation, or whatever you want to call it, or mechanics, you know, no consciousness, you know, we would look at biology and just laugh at it. I mean, what's the fucking point of it? I mean, this, you know, you'd sit there, you could see the planet Earth would still be all beautiful colors and pretty and all that stuff, but it would just be an infestation. It would just be a bunch of parasites consuming each other. It wouldn't make any sense to us. We wouldn't sit there, and we certainly wouldn't revere it as, oh man, isn't that brilliant? I mean, it'd be fucked up. It'd be, whoa, that's really fucked up. But there would be nothing to glorify. So anyway, it's just that's the real reality, is we are just biological machines, and that over time we've acquired these complex features, and one of them has been consciousness, because it gave us a capacity to do this stealing of the other guy's parts things better. All right, it made us more competitive, period. And there's no other there's nothing else there. There's no other mission. And the, you know, in the evidence, in the facts, in the reality, the model we can legitimately create in our minds, that's the end of the story. And these people who want to add all this Goldilocks crap on top of that, you know, they want to attach to it, and it's just religion. That's all it is. It's saying, well, it's not even like the old religion, where they had legitimate gaps in their understanding and they had to fill them in with something. They had to put a God in, because they didn't have any other choice. They had a huge gap in the fundamental questions. This isn't doing that. This is deliberately creating gaps. It's deliberately taking little things that we don't fully have all the details of yet, and taking advantage of that lack of information to expand that gap and put a God in it again. I mean, see this for what it is. This is much more insidious and malicious than the ignorant religions of the past, because this is a deliberate effort to force fantasy into reality, because this will not evolve into better human beings. Lies do not create good human beings. It's just not going to happen that way. We have to build better human beings with a goddamn truth, not with a motherfucking lie.